Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all a work in progress. I'm your host, Rob Commodari. I'm also the author of the book Better Than You Think and the co-author of the book Next Level Your Life. Also, I do some public speaking as well. But today, we're here to interview Steve Cericola. Steve is a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. Went to the same high school, although he's a little older than me. We'll give him a little grace on that. But he's one of 6 siblings. Been married for 18 years to Robyn. And he's had a pretty unique experience, growing up the typical, rowdy guy, maybe, have some fun, getting a little bit of trouble here and there, right? But not too long ago, Steve was on vacation. And Steve, well, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And not too long ago, Steve was on vacation. And I just want, to give a little bit of context, give a little context of you growing up a little bit. And then we'll get into what happened here because it's a pretty powerful experience Steve had. So thank you for being here, Steve, and welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me. So growing up, I grew up in Northeast Baltimore, an Italian, close-knit Italian family. Like Rob said, I had 5 brothers and sisters. Just always together with the family, big holidays, big family gatherings. And my dad was an unusual guy, I would say. Let's put that in polite terms. So I was exposed to a lot of stuff that I think a lot of kids don't see. And it made for a different childhood. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So my dad was like a hardworking guy. He always had multiple businesses, and he would be considered what you would consider a street guy. Was always into something. Always got a deal. Always stuff fell off the truck. That kind of stuff.
That was the Italian way, right?
Oh yeah. He knew a lot of people. So it was quite interesting. But when I was growing up, like I said, I had my family was really close knit. I grew up in a really close-knit neighborhood. So it was like I had 5 brothers and sisters, and all the people in my neighborhood had more brothers and sisters. So it was like our families kind of grew up together. So we played a lot of sports together. And then, as time went on, we started getting older, and then we started getting into partying a little too much. Some people were able to stop partying. I was one of the ones that didn't for a while. So my life took a little different direction than some of the guys I grew up with. Some of them went on, from playing sports to high school to college and all that kind of stuff. Me, I wound up pretty much at the end of my ropes, with drinking and drugs. And one day I just was like, either I'm going to end my life or I'm going to straighten out. And I did. I just yelled out to God. I'm like, help me or help me, or I'm just not going to be here anymore. And that was 33 years ago.
Wow. Steve, it's funny. I got to cut in there real quick because I interviewed somebody a while back, maybe a year or so ago, and he struggled with the alcohol, early in his life. And he said there was a 2-word prayer that he put out there, and the 2 words were "help me."
Yep.
And it's so funny. I mean, or coincidental, or ironic. You said the same thing there. So you asked for that help, and bang, you've turned life around.
Oh, absolutely. Share a little bit about that. I went from the guy most likely to be dead by the time he was 25, to get my life straightened out, and started going to the gym and started working out, trying to get myself healthy physically. And then I always tell this story I didn't share with you before, but I heard a woman share she couldn't read or write, and she went back to school and she wound up getting her associate's degree because she wanted to be a counselor.
Right.
So I heard her story, and I'm like, well, if she can do that, then I can do it because I can read and write.
Yeah.
So for almost 10 years, I went to school at night and summers and graduated with my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Johns Hopkins University.
Wow, that's great.
So, my mom got to see that. My sister, who always, always tried to help me. And my two best friends growing up were all sitting in the stands while I walked across the stage at Homewood campus. So, if you want to say something about one of the proudest moments of my life, that was, absolutely mind blowing to do that,
Yeah, I could feel it when you said that, just sitting there, walking across the stage, man. That's an amazing feeling. So, like you said, it's hard to put that in words, but it must have made you feel, like you said, proud, one of your prouder moments.
Absolutely. I remember one of the kids in line, we were getting ready to go on stage. He asked me how old I was. and I told him I'm pretty old. I said, I just did things different than you. And he said, what's that? I said, I got all the drinking out of the way first and then came to school, So
that's great.
And one of the kids in line, he was out late with his frat brothers, and his comment back was, I wish I would have did that. So
you get it out of the system, right?
Oh yeah. So definitely was, so when people, when you don't think you can do it, someone else has got more, roadblocks in front of them and they can do it, and you share it, and they shared that. When that lady shared that, she helped me. Right. And then I was going to school doing that. And then I had a gentleman come up to me and ask me, to help him with some stuff, but he couldn't read or write. So it was like, I would help him read, I would help him write. So just as frustrated as he would get with, trying to pronounce words, here I am trying to learn calculus and all this other crazy stuff, so
yeah,
we were both had same level of, trials, or, it's just different areas. So through my, past 30 some years, there's always been somebody, that's spurred me on to do better,
So through all those trials and tribulations, I mean, it sounds like, because you said, I asked God to help me. So it sounds like you had some kind of relationship with God to begin with anyway, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I was younger, we were always, Italian Catholic. It's like a given, right? So always we're at church every Sunday. Confession was Saturdays, and Sunday school and all that other stuff. And so when, like, early on, my grandmother passed away when I was about 13. So that's when I kind of started not liking God too much.
Okay.
And that's really when I started like partying. And so the ironic part is years later, I was yelling out to help me because I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. So for my probably first 6 or 7 months that I, tried to stay clean, I prayed to my grandmother. Yeah. So it's kind of ironic. And then, just one day at a time, here I am,
Yeah.
I just feel that, God will help you as much or as little as you want him to. That's what I have to say.
So he's there. He's just waiting for us.
Oh yeah. I'm one of them 2x4 people, it's like, I don't get the subtle hints. I got to get the big 2x4 upside the head kind of thing going. Oh, that's what he meant.
So speaking of 2x4s upside the head, Steve, so not too long ago, you got hit upside the head with a 2x4 while you're on vacation in Myrtle Beach. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm titling this podcast "Being at Peace During a Near-Death Experience." So, do you mind, getting into a little bit and sharing your experience of what happened and how you felt along the way?
Oh, no problem. So, I'll preface it by something. So, I've probably been swimming in ocean water since I was about 10 years old. I competitively swam in high school. So I'm pretty, observant when it comes to ocean water and ability to swim. So I was on vacation with my wife's family. There was, like 6 or 7 of us in the water. We went in the water. It was probably around 10 in the morning. We were at Myrtle Beach, and we were all out in the water. We weren't anywhere higher from between our knees and our waist. We're out there, like I said, for about an hour, just bouncing in the water. We body surfed a little bit. And then, so what happened is I body surfed in one of the waves, and I stood up like you normally do, wiping my eyes off. And I was walking towards to the beach. I was actually walking out of the water. So I was probably anywhere, but probably between my knees and my waist, or maybe a little lower water level. And I heard everybody I was in the water with, I heard all this screaming and commotion. So when I turned around to see what was happening, the wave was crashing, was pretty much almost up to my like face level. So, um, so the wave just turned around and like grabbed me and just knocked me over. It it tumbled me. I was tumbling around in the wave like you were like a load of laundry in a dryer. That's what it felt like. And then the next thing I know, I heard a loud thud, and that was my head hitting the beach bottom. It was so loud that I thought I hit a rock. That's what I thought it was. And that after that happened, I was just laying in the water face down. Um, and I'm going to try to explain this. In the most warm, peaceful place I've ever been in my life. It just felt like, you know, it felt like I'm just going to say, it felt like the hand of God was just holding me. Like it was so warm and it was so peaceful and it was tranquil. Like I didn't see flashing lights. I didn't see like any of the gates. I didn't see any of that kind of stuff that some people describe. And I was just laying there face down in the water with not a worry in the world. I
But
wasn't.
in that process, Steve, you didn't really know what was going on yet, right?
No, I'm just laying there face down. I'm actually watching the sand drag in and out with the waves. I'm watching like little fish go by, and I'm just laying there, just like you would think I was snorkeling the way I was just laying there. Um, and and I'm just, and it was just for me, it just felt like a long time. And I know people they say that they think the duration of time was longer, and it did. It felt like I was face down in that water in that warm, serene pocket for. It felt like a long time. That's all I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, I felt like this, like it was like this kind of like nudge. That's the best way I could tell it. It was like that, like a nudge, like you can't stay. You have to go. That's exactly how it felt.
It felt, but you didn't hear that. You felt
No, it just felt that way. It just felt like, like you got to go. And it was like an internal thing, and a little nudge. And then all of a sudden that warmness just started to go away a little bit, but the serenity was still there. So at this point I'm going, all right, my mind's going, all right, Steve, now you got to realize, I barely got to catch a breath because when I turned around, that wave hit me. So I just barely got a chance to catch a breath. So I'm thinking I'm probably down in the water between 45 seconds to over a minute.
Jeez.
And so I competitively swam. When I competitively swam, I wasn't trained to hold my breath long, right? Because I was a distance swimmer. So then I'm sitting there and it was like, okay, my mind goes, all right, Steve, it's time to get, you got to get up now. And I went to stand up to walk out of the water and my legs weren't moving. So then I'm like, oh,
so you couldn't even stand up?
No. And I'm still face down and my mind's just going through this methodically. I'm like I'm solving an equation at work.
Mm-hmm.
I was just methodically going through this I'm telling you, there was no fear. There was no anxiety. There was no nothing. It was just like exactly how I felt in my mind. It was just like, my legs aren't working. So I'm like, okay, all right, looks like I'm going to have to crawl out, right? I'm going to have to use my arms and crawl out. That's what my mind was telling me. And then I went to do that and I couldn't move my arms.
Wow.
So now I'm face down, still in the water, can't move my arms or my legs. And I still have that serenity. Like the warmth has gone away a little bit and it's just that serenity. And I'm just laying there and I was just like, okay, God, this is how I'm going to go. This is how I'm going to die. I didn't panic. I didn't get excited. And I was just like, I blew my breath out. And just as I blew my breath out, my nephew came over and pulled my head out of the water. And he said he will never forget the gasping the gasp for air that I took when he took me out of the water. So I don't know if I was still under after I blew my breath out or if he pulled me up at the same time, right? Because there's a lot of, because I had just, at that point, I just closed my eyes and was just ready to go to that warm, peaceful place I was just laying in.
So, Steve, in that moment, like you knew or you realized or you were aware enough to know that I might die right here.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, I was not afraid. I was not scared. I wasn't panicked. It was just like, this is how I'm going to go. That's exactly my thought pattern. And so when my nephew pulled me up out of the water, and then he had to get other people to come and help him because I couldn't move anything. So the story kind of carries from there a little bit more, in that by the time they got me out of the water and they got me on the beach and rolled on my back, the nerve pain was so, because at this point we still didn't know what was wrong. The nerve pain was so bad, like you couldn't touch me, you couldn't drop water on me. It just felt like somebody was just burning me all over my body with a hot iron. And so I'm laying down. I remember looking up and seeing my wife's face, and I was telling her, I can't move anything. I can't move anything. So at that point, I know I still got a little, I know I got a little emotional at that point, but then that peace came over me again. It was just like, okay, well, I'm still here, but I'm probably going to not, I'm going to be a quadriplegic is how my mind was. And so then that was my thought pattern. I'm like, well, this is what it is, right? And then they finally got me in the ambulance. And when they got me there, transporting me to the hospital, at this point, I still can't move nothing. And the EMT was asking me questions and I'm screaming, in pain. And he was asking me questions and he touched the bottom of my left foot. And he said, can you feel this? And when I felt it, I looked him right in the face and I said, game freaking on, right? And he's like, huh? So I'm like, okay, now my mind's going, okay, I might be able to walk. I still can't move nothing in my arms. So trust me, on the way to that hospital, I was moving whatever. I was moving my left foot, I could wiggle my toes, my right foot barely. Still couldn't move my arms. So I was in a lot of pain still. And so it wasn't until after the surgery that I was able to, emergency surgery, to move my left arm, but my right arm was still like, I could only move my thumb. So now I'm thinking, okay, I can walk and I'm probably going to have use of my left hand, right? My left arm. So
yeah.
I'm still trying to pull the positives out of this stuff, because I went from almost dying and being calm about it to being a quadriplegic in my mind and being okay about it to, I'm going to lose the use of one arm, right? It's like, you just got to think of all this level of stuff. So after the surgery and all that stuff, I told him.
Did you have immediate surgery right there on the spot?
Oh yeah, the next morning they had surgery.
Okay.
Yep. So I remember telling them, because I'm not, they had me on a lot of pain medicine. They were giving me fentanyl and oxycodone, and Robyn's with me and she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm in so much pain right now, and I'm in the hospital. So they did that while they were trying to get me on a nerve blocker. So it took a while for the nerve blocker. So a few days after, the surgery's done, and a day or so after the surgery, I'm like, listen, get me off this crap and get me up. I want to get up. And I did. Within a couple of days, first time I stood up, on one of those big walkers with the big hand things. And I asked the nurse how I did. And she said, those hula dolls you put on your dashboard? She said, it's exactly how you you look. So it's amazing. Your body's an amazing thing. That fast, all my muscle mass, my ability to walk, use my arms, or know how to step, walk, or anything was wiped out basically. So, so I just worked my butt off, So the surgeon said that my spinal cord injury was as bad as you could get without severing it. It was bruised that bad. He said it was very badly bruised. So here I am. That happened on, but believe it or not, that happened on 9/11/2023.
Oh, wow.
So I left the hospital. I came back, went to an inpatient place in Virginia, Sheltering Arms, which is one of the best spinal cord injury places. And, Rob, you're competitive. We were at the gym all the time and stuff. And he'd give me an exercise and I'd do it. And he'd say that's 48 seconds. And I'd do it again at 45 seconds. He's like, who you competing against? I'm like, you don't understand, man. Right. I want to get back. So, and then I got home and I was lucky to get into Kennedy Krieger outpatient here in Middle River. And I haven't looked back. I had my neurosurgeon and I had, pain management and rehab doctor at Kennedy Krieger. Both of these people have seen these kind of spinal cord injuries more times than and they both looked at me and they just looked at me and said, you shouldn't be the way you are.
Wow.
I've heard it from people that have been doing this for years.
That's amazing. So are you near or close to 100%?
No, I still have, so my feet feel cold all the time, even though they're not. My legs, are kind of nummy, like feel like Gumby. And my arms are still the muscles still haven't come out of atrophy. Some days are better than others. Last weekend was a bad weekend. I had a lot of cramps. The thing is so I'm on gabapentin. So I went from 900 milligrams every 8 hours. I'm down to 300. So that's how bad pain was.
Yeah.
So that helps, but it also keeps your muscles in atrophy. So it's like one of those things. I need to start working out again, but also can't do it like I used to because the meathead in me will come out, So, but
let's go to the gym, man. After this podcast,
but I've just been listening to my body. I'm grateful. I work for a fantastic company. My Robyn called my boss. He gave her all the contacts. They helped her through everything. They even raised a little bit of money, which helped her have a hotel by by where I was in rehab. So it's a funny story because my boss's boss raised all that money and she said, I'm surprised I got that much money because, she said, engineers are cheap. And Robyn goes, who you talking to? I've been married to one for 18 years.
That's great.
But, and blessings just keep coming, I suffered last year I suffered for almost a year from brain fog, just from all the medicines and medications. And so my performance at work hasn't been 100%, but, at least I'm honest, I'm like, hey, I missed this or I messed that up. And, but it's definitely gotten a lot better.
That's great. So, Steve, what I want to ask you, that's an awesome story. Hopefully you get to 100% one of these days, if not close to it. But you had this relationship with God growing up. Has it changed at all? Has it deepened? Has it fallen off since this accident? I think most people might think it's better, but I mean, has anything changed at all?
At first it was just honestly, at first it was when I walked around, when at first it was why did you send me back? That's kind of how I felt.
Wow.
I mean, I was grateful because, really hit when Christmas. She goes, Robyn's last year, she said Christmas could be different. I could be selling the house and moving to PA, but I did. I just felt, I just didn't understand why do you send me back? I'm not one of these people that's, I'm not perfect. I make all kinds of mistakes, but in my heart, I know 100%, And I've told people, and they could just look at me cross-eyed. I'm just going to tell you that there is something way better than here.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I've, you know, and I believe that in my heart, 100%. Nobody will convince me otherwise. Nobody's going to tell me that, oh, you felt that way because of X, Y, and Z. No, I know what I felt. And he's looked out for me through my life. You would think, I could say I probably had a couple other near death experiences, but this one was probably the worst.
Yeah, I mean that's near
Yeah,
death.
yeah. This one was definitely the worst, and it's you just feel different. I just don't know how to say it to you. It's like I'm not out preaching or like saying that. I just feel different, and kind of contrary. It's some days it's just like why didn't you like why'd you send me back? Like,
So do you have this sense of excitement now of what comes after death?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's you know think of the think of your most euphoric, your happiest day of your life with everything, and it's probably not even a million. It's a million times better than that.
Wow.
And your most peaceful time in your life, it's a million times more than that. It was just like, and it was just like time stood still. That's
Yeah.
how it felt. And I could tell you, I was just watching the sand. Like you could see the granules of sand just moving. The fish. It was just crazy. You
Yeah.
know.
So Steve, have you been, since this has happened, have you connected with other people that had these near death experiences or other groups that you've associated with that you share this with at all?
Um, I shared it with people like the people from my church group, and
Yeah.
some people that I work with, you know. Um, it's just because it's crazy. It's funny, but I work around a lot of Christian and Catholic and other faith-based people at work. There's a lot of us, so I shared it with them because I knew they would understand.
Yeah.
And some of them were just like the first day I walked back to work, their eyes just like lit up because they were like, they didn't expect me to like come back to work,
Yeah.
get alone walking.
So Steve, so all that said, all this is happening, you've had this sense of peace and I'm sure there's situations, now that this human Steve is human again and he's got these frustrations and maybe, irritations going on. When that, I'm assuming that happens, and when it happens, if it happens, do you come back to this point and say, what am I getting frustrated about? What am I getting aggravated about? Because I know truly what's beyond this.
Yeah, I'd definitely say yes, a lot. I get a lot less excitable over things than I used to. I'm
Yeah.
just being honest. It's trust me, I'm a hothead, and I do. It's like there's still things that make me upset and stuff, but for the most part, it's like, you know, I I love my career. I'm just supposed to tell you this. So I love my career. I've been doing what I've been doing for like 41 years. So I'm one of these people. I love my job. I could do without some of the other stuff, politics and people sometimes, but I still love what I do. But I just don't. I just want to do what I want to do now. Like I don't want to miss anything now. Like you're so geared at like work, 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 work. Get ahead. Especially when you come from the back, family got growing up that I did. Is work hard, keep your nose to the ground. And we didn't take vacations. We didn't go nowhere. We didn't see nothing when I was a kid, except for, we did the Italian vacation, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, right? See family.
We just went to the backyard. We went to Ocean City for 3 hours one time. Anyway, that's
but,
all we did.
but I do. That's how I feel too. I just feel like I don't want to miss out, and so I'm torn right now. Like, I'm definitely going to retire way earlier than I expected to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and find something else. Like,
So is that the message, Steve? Or do you get a message from this? And if so, like, is that it, or is it like, okay, what are you supposed to do with this? Do you ever feel that way for other people, not just yourself, but for other people?
yeah, I just feel like sharing this story with people just to let them know that there's something else out there. There's definitely something better from here.
Yeah,
And you know, Zebs, you hear that saying, "I'm living my best life," right? Well, I feel like I have a good life, but after this, it's just like everybody tells you life's too short. I'm telling you, life's too short. Like, you
mm,
just never know. Like, you don't know when your time will be. Because ironically, 2 weeks prior to that, we were in Nag's Head with my family during the hurricane coming up the coast,
yeah.
and I didn't get hurt.
Wow.
So, and the water was way rougher, than it was there.
You're
So
apparently supposed to do something for somebody.
it is, and
Maybe
and
this is part of it, right?
yeah, and you feel happy and blessed that you were saved, but then after feeling that feeling, you have this thing of like, man, why'd you send me back? Um,
Well,
and
do you ever think in this way, Steve? I cut you off there. Like, do you ever think that you just said, why did you send me back? Do you think one day you'll get there and he says to you, God says to you, this is why I sent you back?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's been other things in my life where you're at the right place at the right time, and somebody says something, and then you just say something back to them, and they're like, and they smile, right? And they're like, man, I guess it ain't that bad, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you think you got it work bad, there's somebody's always going through more stuff, right?
Yeah, it's all relative. It's all relative to that person, right?
Absolutely. And the other blessing is like I had a few night terrors afterwards, but it's like not many.
Yeah.
And it was just like a few times I woke up and my dreams were face down in the water.
Uh-huh.
But this time in my dream, I'm like freaking out. But when I was actually in that scenario, I wasn't freaked out at all.
Man, that's amazing. Steve, I got to ask everybody this question as we wrap up here. It's like, this podcast is called Chiseled because we're all work in progress, and there's definitely been some chiseling going on in your life. And,
Yep.
You talk about retiring sometime in the near future. So how much more chiseling does Steve think he has to come in his life?
Oh, I have a lot. If you ask Robyn, she just always says, "Lord, the man you gave me." So um, she said, you still gotta knock some sharp edges off. But I do. I can be very judgmental,
Uh-huh.
and it's something that I really need to work on. And I need to not get so stressed out and excited about stuff, because, some things really don't mean that much, but I'm one of these people, that I'll pay my mortgage, and the day after I pay my mortgage on, I'll start worrying the next day about paying it next month. Like that's,
Yeah.
I'm just very, methodical that way. But like I said, the biggest thing out of all this is just I need to learn how to relax more, enjoy life, and do more things. And in saying that, um, my family, my brothers and sisters, my two brothers, my sister, and us will be going to Italy next year for
Oh,
12
yeah?
for 12 days. So my brothers and sisters have never been out of the country, yet alone back to where our family came from. So that's the kind of stuff like I want to do. I want to enjoy my family and um, help them see things or do things they want to
When you
want to
get out
do.
to Italy, you'll be able to go see that half chiseled or that chiseled statue of David, right?
I've seen that. We were there on our honeymoon. I've seen it. You have it's a mirror. You just to see that in person is just amazing. Like,
You almost said the word. You said you said it sound like you're going to say it's a miracle,
oh, it
right?
is, because even the size of the stone. How did he even move it back then?
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. Like,
Well, speaking of miracles, you're a miracle, right?
oh yeah,
You're a miracle.
absolutely.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
I,
So, Steve, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if to talk about this, are you open to chatting with anybody about it?
oh, sure.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
would they get a hold of you?
Well, they could probably be best if they like I'm on Facebook,
Okay.
under my name, Steven Cericola, so they can message me there. That's probably the best means of getting a hold of me.
Okay.
I do have a LinkedIn profile, but I really don't use it that much because under my name also. So
Well, so faithful. His name's right here on the screen. So everybody, if you want to reach out to Steve and talk to him a little more about it, reach out to him on Facebook, and he'll be happy to share it, man. So this is an amazing story. It's an incredible, just to me, I'm moved by it because I always wonder, what's out there, right? And I believe there's an afterlife, and I believe something else is awaiting for us. And I don't know that I want to go through that near death, that experience, but I think that's part of our faith and the mystery of our faith, to believe that there is something out there, and people like you be able to share what you shared and that feeling that you had. I think that gives us all hope and a knowing that there's stuff better yet to come.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind.
That's awesome.
No doubt.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing. You're an amazing dude, not to mention a neighbor and friend and all that other stuff. And I just appreciate you, buddy.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Until next time, everybody, let's go get chiseled.